This is a front door. This is for, I'm doing an island right now. This is the same house. This is the front door that I did about 2 years ago. This front door was painted at some point. You know, it's a beautiful original door, but over the years somebody came by and painted it, and I wasn't digging it. Neither was the homeowner. So my paint supplier gave her our number and got me out here, and we stripped it and we restained it, we refinished it. And I spoke earlier, I think, hopefully it wasn't in the video that I lost, about how on an exterior I'll do, the can recommends 3 coats, we put up 5, okay, on any type of exterior. If you're putting that much money into getting your door refinished, a couple more coats goes a long way. So it's a beautiful front door, still holding up really well. You know, it's an old oak door, but it came with the house. The house is pretty old. So, yeah. So, right now, I'm gonna get ready to take you back into the island, and we'll go from there. You know, I got the scraping this third area off, and I wanted to show what I meant about it's easy to dig into this, because what happens is you know, even pressure, just slightly firm, don't go down hard. That's what she said. Sorry. I'm just gonna push this along. I know this is gonna get done twice, so I'm not trying to dig, you know, give it all she's got, but it's real easy to your knife to hit a dry spot, and then you'll start skipping, okay? That's danger territory, because it's those skips, because you're still moving forward, and that's what's going to cut into your, you know, your wood work. Like I said, it's easier to do on the front door. And okay, here I'm going across the grain because I've got like maybe an inch of material there, but I'm using pretty light pressure when I do that. All right, I know it's real easy to cut into the wood this way, so I don't suggest you go out and do that unless you're using very light pressure, okay? You're not even really, you're just trying to get the material, your stripper off, you know, and you don't want to try to be getting actual old varnish off. So again, with these edges, you know, it sticks pretty well, but if it starts getting a run, stop. Don't just keep going all the way down the edge, you know. So it's real important that you just take it easy. There's no rush here. This is going to get done a second time, and again, I'm getting that white, you know, it's almost like a dust. And I'm going to go halfway here and put all this material in the middle. Now, I've scraped everything over here, but the surface is it's soft, so I can dig into it a little bit. This is also dangerous, so be very careful. All right, I've got firm pressure, but I'm not going to go any faster than that. You know, I'm not trying to get it all off this time around, but there's some heavy spots like right here, and it's real easy for your knife to skip right across, and then boom, it sticks after it's done skipping. So yeah, there was a big chunk of stuff. Look at that. That was a big old thick coat of varnish right there. I don't know how many coats I had on this last time. This is coming up fairly easy, to be honest. And I didn't like the looks of it when I started. All right, see how my knife's skipping? This is danger territory. You know, stop, put more stripper down. But my knife started skipping because I'm getting a little bit too much. You know, don't do it. It ain't worth it. So, same over here. This is the first scrape, and you saw my knife catch. It's real easy to catch a dry spot, and that'll cause a gouge. You saw it right there. That's a spot between the old and the new stuff, and it's kind of right on that threshold, and it might be sticky. Yeah, see See how it hangs up? Now when you hang up there, you might leave a mark. I did not, but that'll get sanded out. As long as you don't get a real good chunk of wood up there, believe me, it happens to the best of us. So minimize that from happening. Like I said, all repairs pretty much can be fixed. You won't know it happened. And here I go across the grain. Don't do it unless you know what you're doing. And if you're new at this, don't do it. Alright, so all this has been scraped. I'm going to go a second time, a little bit more firm. You can see that stuff come right up. That's the old varnish. Somewhat satisfying to get a big old chunk of varnish up, but that's what leads you to trouble. Well, I might as well leave this go until I'm done with it, huh? Yeah, see, I'm getting... Alright, I'm going to put a second coat of stripper on here to get whatever is still there. And there's very little. Well, I won't say that. But now let's get the mess. Be careful scraping this up as well, because you could easily jab right at the last, you know, cleaning up the mess, and all of a sudden you jab the woodwork, you know. That's kind of a bummer. It's happened. Alright. We use right at a gallon of stripper for this island, which I would say is about 4.5 by 5 or maybe, or 5 by 5. I don't think this is a perfect square. Fairly close, and that's right at a gallon. If I'm doing a front door, if it's a double set of doors, you're usually going to use about 2 gallons for sure. Sometimes you might use open up a third. So we're right at a gallon on here, so that gives you an idea. This stuff doesn't go far, okay? As heavy as you got to apply it that first time around. Now this one, just because I'm trying to more or less fine tune it, get the last of the old varnish off there. I don't have to put it on quite as heavy. Again, I want all my brush marks going in the same direction. You know, it's not crazy that you do, or I'm sorry, don't get too caught up if you don't do that, but try to. You know, the stripper, you know what, I don't know what, the new stripper is probably, I think it's right at about 40 bucks a gallon, something like that. The old stuff that I used to use with the old formula, that was 60 bucks a gallon for Old Masters. And I forgot who makes Old Masters. In fact, it might be the company that makes the stuff that I'm using now under their corporate name or whatnot. But the stuff does work. I don't like the smell as much. And at least here, I don't feel that it set me back. Not having the old formula stripper with the methylene chloride. And sometimes that has happened, man. I've used this, you know, been using this new stuff for a couple of years, and you can just tell, man, this is not working out, you know, as well as the old stuff. But It is what it is. What are you gonna do? Might have been a little too much. It's okay. Yeah, this is the last of what I got my cut-in pot as far as the stripper goes. So if you think you're going to need 1 gallon, buy 2. You can always take it back. It sucks when you run out of stripper, and you know you got to leave the area. No matter how fast you go and get your stripper, you know it's a pain in the ass to get back into the rhythm of things. And it can set you back, you know, 20 minute there, 20 minute back, and then your wood's drying out if you're on the outside doing a front door or something like that. It's a hassle. All right, I think I'm good there with this last coat. Looks pretty good. I don't see any dry spots. Maybe a little heavy for a second coat, but that's fine. I've got plenty of stripper, or still left in my pot, so we're gonna let this bake. Be careful, set your pot down somewhere after you've been doing this, you know, like you don't want drips. There you go. Set your pot down somewhere, make sure there's something underneath it, you're just gonna be dripping off the edge. Don't do it. No. I'm going to set this over here where I do set it on a plastic trash bag. I've got 100% I think Percott drops. They soak up and they help things dry as opposed to those butyl drops, which I do not like. They're like the rubber ones. Yeah, nothing will penetrate that, but nothing will dry either. So if you get a drop of paint on your drop cloth, and you don't wipe it up, a professional is going to get a drop, and if he sees it, he'll wipe it up with his rag, because you don't want that sitting, you know. Yeah, you got a drop cloth down, but what happens if you walk off your drop cloth and you got wet paint everywhere, or you're just making a mess? You're going to track that on whatever, you know, as soon as you get off the drop. So don't do it. There's a story I can tell you about somebody doing that years ago, and I tried to warn them. You know, that's for it. I'll make that into another story, but the takeaway is this: all my drops have a good side and a bad side. When I break out a brand new drop, I notice it, or I mark it in such a way that the same side's always going to be on the floor, same side I'm always going to be working on. This, and why I do this is because if I had to move a drop, or somebody else has to use one of my drops or something like that, they don't put the wet side on whatever floor they're trying to drop out. But I've got a good story about that, and how somebody had to learn the lesson the extremely hard way. I don't even know how they kept their job after that. Oh, to be honest, they were gone shortly after for other reasons. But we're going to give this, hold on. Always take a final look. If you'll notice, I looked at this edge and it doesn't look like I put any stripper there, so maybe I did, and it's already dried up. But I just take a little final look before you walk away. Make sure you don't have any runs that potentially, you know, just start dripping down for no apparent, you know, not for no apparent reason, but you don't want it happening. So when I come back, I'll have this vacuumed, I'll have this side done, we'll have everything vacuumed or mess cleaned up. I'm going to leave the drops down overnight. They're not in town, the homeowners. I haven't had any drips going on the drops, so I know there's no stripper, you know, that could possibly soak through. So I'm not going to worry too much, but I don't want to start peeling these drops off because I know there's going to be dust on them. I don't want to make a mess quite yet, you know. If they were living here, or if they were in town, yeah, we'd clean this up spotless. But they're not, so we're going to take advantage of that. I'm getting ready to take off my shoes, but I'll show you next time what we're looking at. So there you go. It's pretty liberal. pretty heavy. We're gonna let that, and this is the second time around. Truth be told, I could probably go ahead and scrape that, but you know, let it soak, let it do its job, you know. So I got a little bit of mess on the sink. We'll get that vacuumed up. We will peel the tape before we leave today. And yes, you might have to peel that again when you go to stain or varnish, or at least varnish. But we're gonna peel that tape before we leave, or while we're cleaning, to make sure we don't have anything stuck up underneath there, you know, no surprises. And you always want to take a look, because that's a painted finish on here, you know, the bronze look, whatever, that's done with paint, so we certainly don't want to screw that up, you know. So we'll peel this and look underneath there, make sure it's all good to go. I'm sure it is. So I'll see you when we're ready to vacuum, or we have vacuumed. All right, here we are. We're at the last third of it. I've gotten this first half, and it's still, you know, you got my dust. I'll come in here with a, I gotta get some gloves back on. I'll come back in here with a shop vac, and of course vacuum all this off, but I've got 2/3 of the table stripped. You know, there's a little bit of color left. It's going as dark as it was, and sanding, this is still a little wet. And you kind of see it, moisture seeping up, even after this was steel wool down. This is the first coat of the third half, so we're in a home stretch. I'm gonna get ready to start knifing that off, but first I gotta go get my gloves. I wanted to show you a technique around stuff like this, because you get to this, and I was trying to explain earlier, down here, I don't want to go across the grain to get that little edge, because I'll leave scratches going that way, and then what you're going to have to do is cover those scratches by going this way. So if you ever do go across the grain, go across very lightly. I mean, you're not, you know, there's no substitution for not going with the grain. Sometimes you have to, which brings me to this point. It's real easy to want to scrub, you know, in a circular motion. And certainly, sometimes you have to do that to get really close, okay? And I've done it here. I'm purposely being light with my pressure, because I don't want to scratch the wood. But I've had to do that a little bit, and I'll take it in short, you know, bursts like this. I'm not, you know, and running around, because I don't want to dig that wood in, or dig those scratches in. And at the end, I'm going to have to go like this all the way around. And so, you know, I get to this side, my final SOS, or I'm sorry, steel wool, they're going to go like this, you know, with the grain. And it's kind of nitpickety, or not nitpickety, it's tedious. But again, I don't want to sit there and scrub in a circle, and that way I'm going to have deep scratches all the way around. And you'll see that if you go to stain, you'll see those scratches. So, you know, you always want to finish it off by going with the grain. When I do this, I'm doing it very lightly, because you almost have to grab a tiny bit to get in that little crevice. But the distance between, you know, you're looking at an eighth of an inch, maybe, when I go into the circular motion. Again, it's tedious, but usually with no problem. So I'm going to get busy scraping this after I go get my gloves, and then we'll vacuum it and take a final look. All right, we're back. I wanted to bring up another quick point about when it's time. I've already scraped this last third off. You can see what the knife does. You know, you're going through that material. It's kind of waxy. But I wanted to show you something when it comes to using this, okay? You can see this line here, and you can see that line. These are kind of like transition. This is a mark that shows you where you've been scrubbing, and you kind of stop right there with your pad. And it's that easy to leave that. Don't leave those. Chances are it would sand out when you get the sander involved, but I don't like leaving those, because I don't like surprises when it comes to this. So I'm gonna go back over this, and I'm not nearly done. I just started with this, but something like that, that line, if you leave that and if it doesn't come out in sanding, you'll stain it that way, and there's no natural lines like that hardly in nature. So you're gonna go over that a little bit, and you can see it's lightening up. And there's also dry issues. You see that. Now this will dry the more I sand on it or scrub it with my steel wool. I keep saying sanding, but you kind of are when it comes to this. You know, I don't want a bunch of quick stop and go marks, you know, that kind of stuff. And once your pad gets looking like that, okay, it's time to either flip it over if you can or grab a new pad. And I'll show you when I grab a new pad. I'm going to try to even this out before I gum up a perfectly good steel wool. I'm going to try to even this out as best I can. I'm just getting tired here, but like this dark spot right here, see if I can't kind of even things out. You know, just, you know, again, most of this will come out in the sanding, but you don't want to leave any hard edges. You know, this mark that I was talking about here, now it seems like I got kind of a clean spot where I've been scrubbing, so you got to even that out. And this pad's done.